a fine, and already served self-imposed ban for the 2023 postseason. Got to vacate some of their records for games with ineligible student athletes, which is an absolute joke. Reduction in scholarships, recruiting restrictions. Joining us now to kind of explain it all, Hod Rabino, Devil's Digest. You can follow him on Twitter at Devil's Digest, and he joins us now on Fox Sports 910. Hod, why do you think it took so long for this to come down?
Well, thanks for having me on, first of all. And as far as it taking this long, just keep in mind that you were talking about 30 plus players that were involved in this recruiting violation. And the number of staffers, I mean, it was really just much more than the 4 assistant coaches that lost their job because of this. I mean, we're probably talking about somewhere in the vicinity of a dozen former coaches and staffers. So all of this does take time, and needless to say that when you have a mitigated resolution, there was a long negotiation process between the NCAA and Arizona State, so they could come to the meeting of the minds and agree on penalties that would be satisfactory for both sides. So I know the NCAA is not known to be swift by any means, but I also think that this was a case that definitely has some complexities to it.
They had said that the cooperation throughout this investigation was one of the areas that they were NCAA really appreciated. Do you think if ASU had been reluctant and hard pressed for them to get this information, you might have seen harsher penalties, Hod?
Yeah, I definitely do think so. I mean, I think that a postseason ban, if ASU did not self-impose one in 2023, and by the way, they should impose one in 2022. That was a season that was truly going nowhere. Yeah. I think that they definitely would come down harder on them. I know folks aren't really receptive to the whole cooperation with the NCAA and the sacrificial lamb. But let's put it this way. I mean, ever since the investigation started, which is hard to believe, it's close to 3 years now. The ASU seasons are pretty much gone to the toilet before they even started. So I feel that when you are cooperating, when you are already reducing your recruiting activities in terms of having fewer visitors on campus, fewer days on the road recruiting. And obviously, the biggest thing of them all is the self-imposed postseason ban. ASU did all that in mind, knowing that it was going to help them in the long run with the ultimate punishment. So I think when you look at the NCAA statement today, I think there was a strategy that did pay dividends, which I know might have to put huge quotation marks around it. But again, I mean, you guys seen as much as I have what ASU football has looked at in the last few years. So if you want to play hardball, and now when the team has a chance to really take that next step forward, now you want harsher recruiting penalties, bigger reduction in scholarship numbers. You probably don't want to go that route now that the program looks to be in good shape to be back on track.
Hod Rabino, Devil's Digest here, Fox Sports 910. Hod, if you had an opportunity to talk to Herm Edwards right now, what would you ask him?
I would say, Herm, I understand the head coach has to delegate, but you also have to have your finger on the pulse.
Absolutely.
And when all this investigation started, you fed exactly into the critics that said that you had no business coaching college football. You're disconnected from the game. You just don't seem in tune with the ever-changing landscape of college football. So, A, why did you even go into this adventure? And B, if you are going to go into this adventure, why not use, your football acumen and how to handle an NFL team and apply that to ASU instead of just making mistake after mistake after mistake and being so brazen that there are pictures of you and recruits during a recruiting dead period that it's so easy to pin a penalty directly on you, let alone bringing the whole screw down with you. So if I got to talk to Herm Edwards today, that's what I would say.
Well, I just wondered, too, we were talking about Ray Anderson. I would think he's culpable in this as well, too. You got to know what your guys, you're the leader of the athletic department. Is there any culpability that's going to come back on Ray Anderson as well?
I mean, that's really a good question because, as we know, there are at least two individuals that are having a written resolution, for lack of a better term, and that's basically not facing an NCAA investigator, face to face, but rather corresponding, like pen pals back in the day. You remember that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, we know for a fact that Antonio Pierce, the former defensive coordinator, and obviously the head coach now of the Las Vegas Raiders, is one of those individuals. There are also a lot of former staffers that declined to cooperate with the NCAA, so they're going to receive their own show causes, not allowing them to be part of a college football staff for years and years to come. Her members, by the way, did receive a 3-year show cause. Yes, I understand it's the most toothless penalty you can really levy here about someone who is not going to coach anywhere anytime soon, NFL, college, UFL, whatever. But nonetheless, I mean, you definitely had to show that he had a hand in this. So, yeah, I mean, I think that, basically it remains to be seen what other penalties are levied on former ASU staffers and coaches. And again, I think when it's all said and done, going back to your initial question, when you're asking why it took so long, it's going to be much more than just a handful of coaches and former staffers that are really going to get penalized here. And that is one reason why this investigation took as long as it did.
Hode Rabino with us today. Hode, let's talk about a couple of the transfer portal guys today with Badger and Rashada. Do you think that was partly because of this news?
No, I think with Jaden Rashada, he, as you know, had a non-football injury all the way back in January. So basically that had him limited participation for the first 2.5 weeks or so of spring practice. He came back rusty, and I think that he just felt that reestablishing his status as a starting quarterback is something that was simply not in the cards. I'm not saying that he should have stayed here and fought more, but him and his camp decided to do what they did. I think it's a testament of Sam Levitt, who I think started maybe spring on somewhat of a slow note, but I think more and more as time goes by, the Michigan State transfer does show that he can be a starting quarterback in the Big 12, or at least be on the path to that. Don't get me wrong, Rashada's departure definitely means that Arizona State is going to try to land a quarterback, from the portal, preferably somebody with a lot of experience. As far as Elijah Badger, I mean, I think maybe the departure of Rashada just lit a fire under him to leave too. He's also ironically in the same boat as Rashada, due to a back injury that he suffered in the next to last game last year against Oregon. He not only missed the Territorial Cup, but really was very limited in winter workouts when spring started. Was very limited in his participation as well. Slowly but surely, the last few practices wasn't getting back to doing one-on-one reps. But he just felt that maybe if Rashada is gone, I should leave too. I don't think that's really a great reason to do that. I think ASU has one hell of an upgrade in offensive coordinator Marcus Arroyo. I think Hines Ward, as a wide receivers coach, brings as much, if not more, knowledge to the wide receiver room than any other college across the nation. So I think with Badger, it really was a different reason, because I don't think him not being a starter was really a feasible scenario. I think he was definitely in line to have a great year, have better weapons around him, and more importantly, have a much better offensive coordinator. So I really question Badger's decision. Rashada, again, he just saw the writing on the wall. He didn't like what he saw.
Kenny, Hode, any big changes this year to last year with Kenny Dillingham's spring practice? Are you noticing anything?
I think Kenny, not only saying it but showing it that the practices are definitely on a more intense level.
Okay.
Kenny Dillingham on numerous occasions did say that just because of the lack of depth that this team had in 2023, it was really hard to have the physical level of practices that you want to have, especially in the latter half of the year, where everybody's banged and bruised. Kenny Dillingham admitted that the intensity level is still not at the level that he wants it to be, but night and day better than not only in-season practices last year, but also spring practice last year. So I think that's definitely one area that we are seeing a difference. I think that, by and large, this ASU team definitely shows a promise in a lot of areas. I will admit, I think the quarterback situation, the passing game in general, still is one issue that has to figure itself, and maybe we get more answers in fall camp than we will at the end of spring practice. But I've definitely seen an elevation of talent, but during a lot of positions for the Sun Devils. I think Kenny Dillingham and his staff have done a good job, really recruiting well. The portal, they're going to find 2-3 plugs in this current transfer portal window, and I think we're going to see a better ASU team next year. I know that when you're coming off a 3-win season, I mean, yeah, sure, it's a very low bar to clear, but nonetheless, I feel that to date, Kenny Dillingham and his staff are definitely making all the right moves to put this program on a better path.
It's you may want to educate some of the Sun Devil fans out there. It seems as though,
be careful,
a lot of folks
Baby steps.
I know a lot of folks are abandoning ship. Does he have the numbers out there at practices aside from last year? I know they were a little thin at certain positions, but are the numbers there in spring football?
Yeah, no, they definitely are, and I'm not talking about just warm bodies. I'm a big proponent that I don't care if your defensive line room has 15 bodies. Can those 15 bodies play?
Yes.
And yes, I've definitely seen by and large across all positions an elevated level of talent. Again, quarterback is the one. Right now, you only have 2 scholarship quarterbacks, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's an area of strength. Even though I think Sam Levitt has made some impressive strides, from the beginning of spring practice. Trent Bourget has been his steady self from last year, but I would like to see who they can land in the portal, and does that really help elevate collectively the quarterback group? And then just going to have that domino effect where a good quarterback group is really going to elevate a wide receiver group, which, yes, they lost Elijhah Badger. I'm not going to minimize that impact one bit, but anybody at practice can see the Colorado wide receiver transfer, Jordan Tyson, who only played 1 game last year for the Sun Devils because he was recovering from ACL injury, has been outstanding in spring practice. I wish we could really film all those great plays he makes in 11-11. Troy O'Meary has definitely enjoyed a strong spring. Same with Melquan Stovall. And even a guy like Xavier Guillory, which is carbon copy of Elijhah Badger, starting very, very limited because of an injury last year. And in his case, it was a foot injury. But the first few practices that he's more in the groove, doing one-on-one, doing 7-on-7s, you're really seeing this guy come to its own. So I think there's definitely some cautious optimism about this Arizona State group. And I understand that Jaden Rashada and Elijhah Badger on the surface are 2 huge names to lose to the transfer portal. But I think at wide receiver and to TBD on quarterback, I think ASU is going to be able to compensate for those losses.
Oh, solid stuff as always, man. You nail it every time. We love having you on, man. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. You do the same.
Rabino, Devil's Digest, at Devil's Digest. Seriously.
He's dialed in, man.
Dude, he's solid.
Yeah, he is.
He really is, man. The guys in our business that go to spring practices and stuff and just can nail the plays. We wish we could film some of this stuff.
You guys go with it. You have the numbers. Yeah, we have numbers that can actually play.
Yeah. Hey, coming up, it's Kevin Ray.
No, we got Jackson's Rewind.
Let me finish.
Oh.
Why, Jimmy? I mean, seriously.